Have you ever felt that every morning when you wake up, your mind is like a flashlight, dimly shining through the fog? Many goals, many dreams, but none truly clear. You read dozens of books, watch countless videos, fill pages of to-do lists. Yet when night falls, you still feel busy but not moving forward. I used to be like that. I pushed myself in dozens of directions, wanting to grow my career, maintain relationships, please everyone. I thought I was being well-rounded, but in truth, I was just spreading my energy thin until I burned out. Until I understood one thing: greatness doesn't come from doing more. It comes from focusing deeper. When you pour all your energy, time, and mind into one single direction, everything begins to change. Your thinking gets sharper, your results become clearer, and you become someone entirely different. That's why today I want to share with you 12 principles to sharpen your focus until even you no longer recognize yourself. These principles aren't just about discipline or habits, but about a transformation from within, from being someone constantly pulled by the world to becoming someone who masters their inner world. And I want you to stay until the end of the video, because Principle 5, Focus Persistence, will make you rethink the entire way you've lived and worked for years. Principle 1, Elimination, the art of removal. Before you can focus on what matters, you must eliminate what doesn't. I once believed that to succeed, I just had to do more, learn more skills, take on more work, meet more people. I threw myself into everything, convinced that energy and enthusiasm would get me there. But the harder I tried, the more I felt lost in a maze. I was always busy but going nowhere. And then one day I realized a harsh truth. It's not that I lack opportunities, I have too many directions to go. This world offers us endless choices. With just a few taps, you can learn a new language, invest in stocks, start an online business, connect with hundreds of people every day. Sounds amazing, but it's this infinite possibility that steals our focus. When you try to walk 10 paths at once, you go nowhere on any of them. Today, people don't die from poverty or failure, they die from distraction. I call it death by 1,000 notifications. Every time you open your phone, watch another video, or say yes to something unimportant, you drain a bit of your energy. No one defeats you. It's the little meaningless things that slowly exhaust you without you realizing it. Focus doesn't begin with adding, it begins with removing. If your life is a garden, pick up the shears and cut off the dead branches. If your mind is a cup, pour out the murky water before you fill it with something pure. You can't build a solid house on a messy foundation, just as you can't focus when your life is cluttered with meaningless things. A student once asked me, "Master, how do I start training my focus?" I smiled and said, "Don't start by learning more, start by letting go." Look around you. There are relationships that only drain your energy. There are tasks you do out of habit, not purpose. There are apps you open just to kill time. And then you wonder why your energy, willpower, and faith keep fading away. I used to be that way. I accepted every invitation, talked to everyone, joined every opportunity out of fear of missing out. I wanted to be everywhere. But then I realized when you're everywhere, you're actually nowhere. One night I sat alone with a blank sheet of paper. I wrote down one single thing to help people transform their lives through the right life philosophy. I crossed out everything else. No more doing extra to impress. No more meetings out of politeness. No more spending energy on things that only seem important. From that day on, every decision, what I read, who I met, how I planned my day, revolved around that one thing. And miraculously, everything began to change. Results improved, my mind cleared, and I started to feel free. You see, elimination is also a form of courage. Every time you say no, you must accept loss. You lose opportunities, a sense of connection, instant pleasure. But it's a purposeful loss, losing, to create space for something greater. A garden is only beautiful when the gardener knows how to prune. So is your life. If today you feel pulled in a dozen directions, stop and ask yourself, among all the things I'm doing, which truly takes me where I want to go? Be honest with your answer. Sometimes all it takes is crossing out one thing. A habit, a relationship, a choice to open space for real focus and peace. Because focus doesn't begin by adding, but by subtracting. And when you learn to eliminate, you begin to see clearly what truly deserves all your mind and energy. The next step, I'll show you how focus, when maintained long enough, grows exponentially like compound interest in finance, but this time it's the compound interest of life. That's Principle 2, the compound effect of focus. Principle 2, the compound effect of focus. When you stay focused long enough, your growth multiplies, not adds. Once you've learned to eliminate what's unnecessary, you'll discover something magical. Focus doesn't just produce results, it multiplies them. Because focus works like compound interest in finance, small now but massive over time. Today, most people want instant success. They go to the gym for a week, learn a new skill for 2, then quit because they haven't seen results. They want to harvest just days after planting, forgetting that all great things need time to grow. I once said during a talk, if you plant a seed today and check it tomorrow, you'll see nothing. But if you nurture it through many seasons of rain and sun one day, it'll become a tree you never imagined possible. Focus works the same way. When you choose one direction and stay consistent, even just a little every day, your results stop growing linearly and start growing exponentially. A 1% improvement each day seems small, but after 365 days, you're not just a bit better, you're 37 times better. That's the power of life's compound interest. I remember a young student full of passion and persistence. He wanted to become a great speaker and had practiced for 6 months. One day he came to me, frustrated, "Master, I've worked hard for half a year, but my skills haven't improved." I asked, "Do you remember your first time on stage?" He nodded. "Good. Now compare that version of you to the one today." He went silent, then smiled. "Actually, I've changed a lot, I just didn't notice." And that's the problem for most of us. We're so impatient for results that we often quit right before the miracle happens. But the deepest changes always occur silently in the way you think, in the discipline you build and your ability to stay patient with the path you've chosen. I call this the silent compound period. It's the phase when you're not yet praised, when results haven't shown, but you keep doing the right thing anyway. Each morning you choose reading over scrolling. You add 0.01 to your intellectual account. Each time you choose focus over complaint, you add 0.01 to your discipline account. No one sees these tiny numbers, but one day they add up, and the world will be amazed at who you've become. I've been through that phase too. For years I spoke to small groups unknown by anyone, but I kept reading, writing, speaking day after day without missing a single one. There was no magic, just steady focus. And then one day, everything exploded. People called it luck, but luck was simply the moment when the compound interest of focus started to pay off. Remember, this focus is the greatest bank account of your life. Every hour of deep work, every act of discipline is a deposit into it. Its interest doesn't appear tomorrow, but in the years ahead. And when the time comes, you'll look back and smile. The person I am today is the result of thousands of days of unseen focus. Once you truly understand this law, impatience disappears. You stop asking, "When will I succeed?" and instead say confidently, "With every 1% I grow each day, I'm bound to become someone entirely different." And that's the moment you step into a new stage of your journey, where focus doesn't just make you work better, but rebuilds you from within. That is Principle 3, Layers of Transformation. Principle 3, Layers of Transformation. Focus doesn't just improve you, it transforms you. There's a moment in everyone's journey when you look back and realize focus doesn't just make you better, it turns you into a completely different person. Because when you stay on one path long enough, the change doesn't stop at skills. It begins to spread through your entire being, from how you think, how you act, to how you see the world. I've met thousands of people who tried to change their lives with short-term bursts. They take a course, read a few books, listen to motivational talks, and for a moment they feel full of energy. But just a few weeks later, everything goes back to the way it was. Not because they lack ability, but because they only touch the surface of change without ever going deep enough to the root layer of transformation. Sustained focus, when maintained over the long term, leads you through 5 levels of evolution, 5 layers that every great person must pass through. And when you understand this, you'll know why a single direction of focus can change the entire destiny of a life. The first layer is skill. When you focus on one thing, you naturally become better at it. Those who write every day write better. Those who speak every day speak better. Those who do specialized work grow deeper every day. But skill is only the surface, the part others can see. If you stop here, you become capable, but not yet influential. Then comes the second layer, character. Focus doesn't just train your craft, it trains your character. Every day you sit down to work without feeling inspired, you're training your will. Each time you say no to distraction, you lay another brick for the foundation of discipline. Gradually, you become someone who keeps promises to yourself, and that's when true power appears. Because success doesn't belong to the most talented, but to the most persistent. After that, you step into the third layer philosophy. When you've done something long enough, you begin to see the world differently. You no longer work mechanically. You start asking, why does this matter? What is my true goal? And in the process of seeking those answers, you gradually form your own life philosophy. You stop chasing the noise of the world and start listening to the voice of your soul. At this layer, focus is no longer a tool, it becomes your way of living. Then you advance to the fourth layer, leadership. When you've gone deep enough in a field, you become someone others want to learn from. You don't need a title, you don't need fame. Your depth is what makes you shine. You were once the one seeking answers. Now you become the one bringing answers to others. This is how focused people become leaders, not by words, but by living examples. And finally, the fifth layer, legacy. This is where all your focused efforts accumulate into timeless value. What you build, what you share, continues to live on even when you're no longer here. Focus isn't just to achieve something, but to leave something that can inspire the next generation. Most people stop at the first layer. They develop skills and then stop and still feel empty, because skill helps you do better, but character and philosophy help you live deeper. When you steadily move through all 5 layers, you not only master your craft, you master yourself. And one day you'll look back and say, the person I am today is someone even my former self wouldn't recognize. The journey of focus is a journey of rebirth. You don't need to change the world, you just need to change how you move through each day. Because every day you stay true to what's right, you create another version of yourself, stronger, clearer, and deeper. And when you've reached the philosophical layer of focus, stay with me, because the next principle, Seasons of Focus, will show you why most people quit right before they reach the true layer of transformation. That is also where the most important turning point in the self-change journey begins. Principle 4, Seasons of Focus. Every transformation has its seasons. Don't quit in the winter. On the journey of focus, there will be phases when you think you're on the right path, yet see no results. Sometimes you're full of passion, then fall into confusion. Some days you feel clear progress. Other days you doubt the very road you're on. Don't worry, that doesn't mean you failed. It simply means you're walking through different seasons of focus. I often tell my students, just like nature, every growth journey has its seasons. A season of sowing, a season of tending, a season of harvest, and a season of rest. If you don't understand this law, you'll quit in the very first season when the seed hasn't even sprouted. I call them the 4 seasons of focus. The first is the season of learning, the season of learning. This is the beginning phase, when you're still clumsy and see no clear results. It's like when you put the first seed into the soil, you see nothing but silence. This is when most people retreat because they think focus doesn't work. But in truth, every deep change begins in silence. You're growing roots, not flowers. The hours you read, practice, think, fail, and try again, all are quietly laying the foundation. Those who don't understand this season will pull up the seed before it can sprout. Then comes the season of practicing, the season of practicing. This is when you start to see the first rays of light, but the journey is still tough. Things remain slow, repetitive, and at times extremely tedious. But it's this repetition that creates the real power of focus. Each day you persist, your skill gets sharper, your confidence thicker, and your grit deeper. Don't underestimate this season. This is where you forge willpower. I call it the season of days with no applause, because you're doing the right things with no one watching. Yet that's exactly when you're laying the foundation for an extraordinary life. After that, you step into the season of mastery, the season of mastery. This is when your persistent effort begins to bear fruit. Everything becomes smooth, natural, and deep. Tasks others find difficult, you do with joy. Focus is no longer a burden. It becomes instinct. You begin to see doors, open opportunities, people, achievements, things that once felt out of reach. But the best part isn't the results, it's the inner calm. You no longer need the world's approval because you know you're living in the right direction. And finally, the season of teaching, the season of teaching. This is when you no longer keep your understanding to yourself, but begin to pass it on to others. You help them move faster and avoid the mistakes you once made. And in that process, you learn again, you learn to give. This is the season of legacy where your focused journey touches other lives. Sadly, most people never reach the 3rd season. They quit in the first before any results have time to appear. They call it failure, but really they only went through the season of sowing. I always remind no winter lasts forever. But if you quit in winter, you'll never see spring. I once had a student who stayed persistent in developing public speaking skills. After 6 months, he came to me discouraged. Master, I've worked, but see no progress. I simply asked, which season are you in? He was surprised. What do you mean by season? I said, You're in the season of learning, and this phase doesn't produce results yet, it only grows roots. You must continue until the season changes. 2 years later, he returned, standing on stage, confident, inspiring hundreds of people. He smiled and said, "I've made it through Winter Master." Remember, no one can skip nature. There is no harvest without sowing. There is no mastery without practice. Each season has its purpose, and you must honor it. It's the patience to pass through each season that shapes you into the extraordinary person you were meant to become. If today you feel slow, lost, or tired, ask yourself, could this be my season of sowing? If the answer is yes, then smile, because you're exactly where real change begins. And if you understand this deeply, stay until the end of the video, because Principle 5 Focus Persistence will help you keep your spirit steady through the hardest seasons where you learn to persist, even when motivation is gone. That's when ordinary people stop, but you, the one who understands the law of seasons, will keep moving forward. Principle 5, Focus Persistence. When clarity meets consistency, destiny changes forever. Once you understand that the journey of focus has its seasons, you'll realize this: what determines whether you reach the end isn't talent or luck. It's persistence in the quiet. Because in every season, whether sowing or harvesting, you need only one thing: persistence, the ability to continue even when no motivation remains. I once thought success came from inspiration, that if I were excited enough, I could do anything. But then I discovered inspiration is a flame that fades easily. It burns bright at the beginning, then goes out when the cold winds of reality blow through. Only discipline and persistence keep that flame burning. People often say, follow your passion. But I say, don't just follow passion, follow consistency. Passion can fade, but consistency will take you to the finish. True persistence isn't working when you feel excited. It's the ability to continue when things become dull. When no one praises you, when you ask yourself, is this worth it? That's when you're training something more precious than success: inner strength. I used to tell my students, a person truly matures when they learn to keep going without anyone reminding them. That's when you stop expecting the world to push you and start lighting the torch within. I remember my early years of speaking. Many days I stood before a hall with only a handful of people listening. No spotlight, no applause, just a small, quiet room. I could have easily quit telling myself, maybe this isn't for me. But instead of stopping, I chose to continue. I spoke as if I were talking to thousands, even when only 7 people sat there. And that very act of continuing forged my grit. Years later, when I stood before tens of thousands, I understood I didn't succeed because of talent. I succeeded because I didn't quit when no one was watching. You see, anyone can persist when things are going well, but the truly great keep their pace even when it rains. Because persistence isn't just an action, it's a way of life. It's what you tell yourself every morning: I will show up even if no one expects me today. In a world of skip buttons where people change direction after just a few weeks, the one who dares to stay with a single goal long enough is the rarest and the most rewarded. Because the world doesn't belong to the swift, it belongs to the steadfast. There's a saying I always remind myself of: clarity without consistency means nothing. Clarity without persistence is just an illusion. You can know exactly what you want, but if you don't keep going every day, that goal will stay on paper forever. Conversely, even if your path isn't clear yet, as long as you keep going, the road will gradually appear. I have a small habit. Every morning I choose to do at least one thing that brings me closer to what matters most. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just one step. Because I understand that every great change is built from small, consistent steps. A drop of water falling long enough can wear down stone. A persistent person each day will wear down their own limits. If you're feeling discouraged right now, remember, it's not that you're getting weaker. You're simply walking through the quiet part of the journey. Every master has walked that stretch where no one sees, no one cheers. But in that darkness, they grow tougher. The more days you pass without recognition, the stronger the pillars you build for future glory. Keep going, even if the pace is slow. Keep going, even if only a sliver of faith remains. Because if you're still moving, you're still winning. And when clarity meets consistency, your destiny changes forever. Ask yourself today, do I dare show up for my own dream even when no one's watching? If the answer is yes, then you're already different from most of the world. And if you truly want to know how to protect your energy, how to keep that flame of focus from being snuffed out in a noisy, scattered world, stay with me for the next part. Because Principle 6, Protect Your Energy Gate, will help you understand how to guard the inner energy gate. And once you keep it, you'll never lose your focus. Principle 6, protect your energy gate. Guard your energy like it's your greatest treasure. Focus isn't just a matter of time, it's a matter of energy. Because you can't focus if your mind is drained. And you will never sustain persistence if every day you let others step in and siphon your energy. This world is louder than ever. Someone always wants you to respond right away. A notification lights up a message, arrives a meaningless conversation, all slowly drain your mental energy without you even realizing it. And by the end of the day, you ask, why am I exhausted yet got nothing done? The answer is simple. You don't guard your energy gate. I once had a young student, incredibly talented. He had real dreams and was willing to work hard. But after a few years, he came to me looking disappointed, Master. I'm still working, still trying, but I've lost my inspiration. Every morning I wake up feeling heavy. I asked, what do you spend your energy on each day? He listed calls, emails, messages, unnecessary meetings, social media chatter. I smiled and said, you're not drained because you work too much. You're drained because you let too many trivial things pour into your mind. Have you ever asked yourself each day, how many things pass through your mind that bring no value? How many times do you open your phone just for a bit, then drift away for an hour? How many times do you talk to someone just to please them, only to feel mentally weighed down afterward? That is energy leakage, the silent enemy of focus. To preserve energy, you must be selective. Treat your mind like a garden and allow only good seeds to be planted there. Don't let everyone have the key to enter. Not everyone deserves your time and energy. Learn to say no. Not out of arrogance, but out of respect for your own life force. I've always believed you can predict someone's future by observing the energy environment around them. Those who spend time with negative people gradually begin to doubt themselves. Those who consume junk information daily won't have the strength to think big. And those who let chaos dominate their environment will never reach deep focus. Remember, your energy is your most precious asset. 1 hour with full energy is worth more than 10 hours in fatigue. 1 minute of true silence is more valuable than hours of meaningless noise. I have a simple rule in life. Mornings are mine, not anyone else's. I don't read the news, don't check email, don't reply to messages. I start the day in silence, writing, reading, and thinking. Because if I let the world enter my mind too early, I'll spend the entire day trying to regain balance. I call it the sacred energy zone, a place where only you, your dream, and your inner peace are allowed to be present. Everyone needs that zone, even just 30 minutes a day, because that's where you recharge the focus energy for the long day ahead. If you let people, news, and other people's problems invade that energy zone, you will never find your inner stillness again. And when stillness is gone, focus leaves you too. Learn to close the gate. Know when to say enough. Because sometimes protecting your energy is the deepest act of self-love. If today your mind feels heavy, try one thing: unplug from the world for a few hours. Turn off your phone, disconnect the internet, sit quietly in silence and let the energy return to you. Only when you learn to be still can you truly become strong. And if you've learned how to protect your inner energy, stay with me for the next part, because Principle 7 morning rituals will show you how to start each day with maximum focus and energy, so that mornings are no longer a rushed beginning, but a ritual that helps you live more fully and powerfully each day. Principle 7, morning rituals. The way you begin your morning decides the direction of your life. Morning is the beginning of all great things. Ironically, it's also the moment when most people lose their sense of agency. The instant they open their eyes, they grab the phone, letting the world rush in before they even take one deep breath for themselves. And then they spend the whole day chasing what's urgent instead of living for what's important. I've always believed if you master your morning, you can master your life. Morning is the golden gate of focus. It's when your mind is clearest, your energy purest, and the world is still quiet. If you know how to use it well, you'll create a domino effect for the entire day. Everything else will naturally flow smoother, clearer, deeper. I have a simple habit that changed my entire life. I don't let the world enter before my mind is ready to receive it. I wake up without opening my phone. I make a cup of coffee, sit in silence, and begin a dialogue with myself. I ask, what is the single most important thing I must do today? That one question shapes the entire day that follows. I write down the 3 most important tasks, then spend the first 90 minutes focused on task number 1, the one thing that truly matters to my journey. Morning is where you rebuild your connection with yourself. Because when you start the day in stillness, you send a message to your mind, I'm the one in control, not the one being controlled. Many people live their whole lives in reacting to messages, to emails, to problems, to others' demands. But successful people begin with intention. They don't wait for inspiration to start. They start and inspiration shows up. I once coached a young entrepreneur who constantly felt burned out. He worked 12 hours a day, but always felt late for his own dreams. When I asked, "How do you start your day?" he answered, "I wake up, open my phone, check email, and get swept into work." I said, "That isn't starting, that's being swept away." Then I guided him to build a 45-minute morning ritual each day. 10 minutes of silent meditation, 10 minutes writing 3 things. He's grateful for 10 minutes reading a book on life philosophy and 15 minutes of light. Exercise. 3 months later, he came back smiling brightly. "Jim, I'm still doing the same workload, but it no longer feels heavy. I feel clearer, calmer, and stronger than ever." I said, "Because you didn't just change how you work, you changed how you begin your day. If you want to focus first, learn to start your day in peace. Don't let your phone decide your first emotion. Don't let the noisy world invade before your mind is steady. Spend a few minutes each morning just being with yourself." It sounds simple, but it's what determines whether you react to the world or shape the world around you. Remember, you don't need a perfect morning, just a small, consistent ritual. Read 1 page, take 3 deep breaths, write 1 sentence you want to live by today. That's already a great start. Because life doesn't change in giant leaps, it changes in the mornings you choose to begin the right way. If you're seeking peace in a chaotic world, start with tomorrow morning. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Sit still, breathe, and ask, what energy do I want to live with today? Because when you begin the day with the right question, your life will gradually find the right answers. And in the next part, I'll share how to turn the space around you into an ally of focus, because Principle 8, environmental design, will help you transform your environment into a system that supports discipline and success. If you've ever felt your surroundings pulling you off course, the next section will show you how to make them a force that lifts you up. Principle 8, environmental design. You can't stay sharp in a dull environment. After you learn to master your mornings, the next thing you must learn is to master the space around you. Because you can't live focused in a scattered environment. You can't maintain positive energy when every corner, every sound, every person around you is pulling you the other way. I've always believed you can't outgrow your environment. You can only be shaped by it. Many people think they lack discipline, but in reality, they lack an environment that supports discipline. They try to focus in a noisy room, try to live healthy in a kitchen full of junk food, try to do deep work in a space crammed with distractions. Then they blame themselves for lacking willpower. But the problem isn't willpower, it's design. I once had a student who always complained he couldn't focus for long. He said, "Master, the moment I sit down, my mind wants to do something else." I asked, "What's on your desk?" He listed phone, laptop, iPad, books, flyers, bills, some snacks, and a small TV mounted in the corner. I laughed. You don't need more discipline. You need to clear your desk. We don't realize that environment is an invisible prompt. Every object in your space says something to your mind. An open book says, "Keep reading." A lit phone screen says, "Check me." A messy sheet of paper says, "There's unfinished work." If you live amid too many conflicting signals, your mind will constantly fight to stay focused, and eventually it will burn out. So if you truly want to stay sharp, redesign your environment so it naturally funnels you into focus. Keep your workspace clean and minimal, only what relates to your primary goal. Turn off notifications, place your phone out of reach. Let the light be gentle, the background music soft, and keep a notebook nearby to capture ideas as they come. That's not just tidying, it's creating conditions for deep thinking to flourish. When I started writing books, I too struggled with endless distractions. One day I decided to redesign my small world. I cleared the desk completely, leaving only a pen, a blank sheet of paper, and a hot cup of coffee. Every morning I sat in that exact spot at the exact time, no phone, no music, no voices. After a few weeks, I noticed something miraculous. My mind automatically entered deep focus the moment I sat down. No forcing, no pushing, because the environment had already done half the work for me. Remember, willpower gets you started, but environment keeps you there. If you want to, exercise. Consistently place your shoes right by the bed. If you want to read each morning, put the book where the first light hits when you wake up. If you want to limit social media, make it harder to access. The secret of disciplined people isn't strength, it's the intelligence in how they arrange their world. Environment isn't just your room, it's also the people you choose to be around. Everyone you spend time with is an energy mirror reflecting back into you. If you surround yourself with negativity, you'll gradually lose faith. If you live among big dreamers, you'll start daring to dream bigger. Choose an environment that reflects who you want to become, because no one can rise very far while surrounded by those who pull them down. Walk into your room and ask yourself, is this space moving me closer to or further from who I want to be? If the answer is further, start changing it even just one corner. A candle, a blank sheet, a quiet desk nook, sometimes a single small detail can change the energy of an entire day. If you learn to create an environment that helps you focus, you won't need to force discipline anymore. Things will naturally fall into place because you've turned the world around you into an ally. And in the next part, I'll share the art of saying no, because Principle 9, learning to say no, will help you understand that every time you say no to the trivial, you're saying yes to your great life. That's the lesson of maturity and the secret to keeping razor-sharp focus throughout the journey. Principle 9, learning to say no. Every no to distraction is a yes to your destiny. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to say no. Not because you're selfish, not because you're cold, but because you've understood that every time you say yes to everything, you're unknowingly saying no to your own life. I used to be someone who tried to please everyone. If someone needed help, I always said yes. If there was a new project, I always took it. If someone invited me somewhere, I couldn't refuse. I thought the more yeses I gave, the more loved and successful I'd be. But one day I realized I was lost. I had let the world control me with small yeses every day until there was no time, no energy, and not enough focus left for what truly mattered. We don't lose our lives through big decisions, but through hundreds of small agreements. A meaningless conversation, an unnecessary meeting, an invitation you don't really want to accept, a task you take on just because you fear disappointing someone. Bit by bit, you trade your freedom for the feeling of being safe and accepted. But the truth is, you can't do something great if you're still afraid of disappointing others. Once during a talk with a group of young entrepreneurs, someone asked me, "Master, how can I balance everything? Work, relationships, goals, responsibilities?" I smiled and said, "You don't need to balance everything, you just need to choose what's worth balancing." That's what most people don't understand. When you say no to 99 trivial things, you can finally say a full yes to one extraordinary thing. Focus isn't just facing one direction, it's daring to turn your back on all the others. I remember a time when a friend invited me to join an attractive project. Big potential, big recognition, big profits. But it wasn't on the path I'd chosen. I thought about it all night, then said no. He was surprised. "Jim, why would you turn down such a good opportunity?" I said, "Because I've chosen to go deep, not wide. I don't want another opportunity, I want a mission." I never regretted that decision, because it's precisely in times I've said no like that I've had the time to become excellent at the one thing I was born to do. Do you realize that every time you say yes to someone else, you're taking a piece of energy from your day? Your time is finite. Your focus is too. If you let them be divided, you'll never have enough strength to complete anything of great value. Sometimes declining isn't a hard stance. It's the highest form of loyalty to your mission. Learning to say no takes courage, because you'll fear being misunderstood, fear being distant. But then you'll understand true respect comes from clarity, not compliance. People may not like your answer today, but they'll respect who you are tomorrow because you live by principles. Remember, no is a passport to freedom. When you say no to what distracts you, you're saying yes to focus. When you say no to small things, you're clearing the way for big things. And when you say no to pleasing others, you're saying yes to becoming the strongest version of yourself. If you feel overwhelmed today, don't rush to do more. Pause and ask yourself, am I doing what matters or just staying busy? Then start with one gentle no, and you'll be surprised at how clear your life becomes. Because sometimes a timely refusal can become the door to true freedom and focus. In the next part, I'll share with you the secret to staying flexible and focused without losing direction, because Principle 10 Focus Flexibility will help you understand. Focus doesn't mean rigidity, it means knowing when to hold on and when to let go. An essential lesson so you not only stay on the right path, but go farther than ever. Principle 10, Focus Flexibility. Be firm in your goal, but flexible in your path. Focus doesn't mean rigidity. It's not clinging to one route even after the world has changed. True focus is knowing when to stay steadfast and when to adapt. It's having deep roots, but flexible branches. It's knowing what to keep at the core while being willing to change how you execute. I've compared focus to bamboo in the wind. Bamboo doesn't resist the wind it bends. And because it bends, it doesn't break. After the storm, the bamboo still stands, while rigid trees have fallen. Life is the same. If you're too rigid, you'll break. If you're too soft, you'll lose your roots. And the art of focus is finding the balance between the two. I've met many people with big goals who failed because they weren't flexible. They made a plan. And when life didn't follow their map, they panicked and quit. But life never runs by a perfect plan. It's more like an ocean than a road. And wise people don't force the waves to follow them. They learn to surf them. I remember a small story from my early years as a speaker. I once set a goal to hold large talks for thousands, but at the beginning, no one knew who I was. I had to speak in small rooms, dozens of people, sometimes just a handful. If I'd been rigid and thought, only when there's a big hall will I give my all, I probably would have quit long ago. Instead, I told myself, if I can't speak to thousands, I'll speak to 10 as if they were thousands. I was flexible in method, but firm in goal. And eventually the big halls came not because I waited, but because I adapted and continued. Flexibility is a sign of wisdom. It doesn't make you weaker. It helps you survive and grow. Rigid people often blame circumstances. Flexible people always find a new way forward because they understand the path can change, but the destination cannot. I used to tell my students, hold your goal like a North Star, but leave room in your journey for creativity. Because sometimes the way you think will lead to success is only the lesson that helps you find a better way. The world changes every day. Technology, opportunities, people all are in motion. If you're not flexible, you'll be left behind. But if you know when to adjust, you won't just survive, you'll evolve. Remember, focus is the North Star. Flexibility is the compass. The North Star keeps you pointed in the right direction. The compass helps you find new routes when storms arise. You need both, and those who can use both will never be lost. If today your path feels tough, don't rush to think you chose the wrong goal. Maybe you just need a different way forward. Ask yourself, am I being steadfast with what's right or just stubborn with what's familiar? A small question, but it can change the course of your life. When you understand the power of flexibility, you'll no longer fear failure because you'll know failure is just a signal to change course, not the end. And once you know how to adjust the flow, it's time for you to step deeper into the zone of absolute focus where you're no longer working, but merging with the work itself. That's the state artists call inspiration athletes call the zone, and I call flow the stream. Stay with me because Principle 11, turn focus into flow, will help you reach the equilibrium between effort and freedom where you no longer have to try to focus because you have become the focus. Principle 11, turn focus into flow. When focus becomes who you are, not just what you do, focus isn't just a skill, it's your new essence. At first, you have to force yourself to focus. You have to turn off your phone, close the door, remind yourself, fight distractions. But after long enough, you'll realize you no longer have to try to focus because focus has become you. When you sustain focus long enough, something magical happens. You enter the state of flow. It's the moment when time disappears, when work stops being an obligation and becomes a joy, when mind and action become one. You're no longer working, you're living with the work. You stop counting minutes because you've forgotten time itself. I've experienced that feeling many times in my life. Nights when I wrote for 4 hours but thought only 30 minutes had passed. Talks where the room fell completely silent. I wasn't speaking, I was transmitting, and the energy flowed through me like electricity. That isn't luck. It's the result of thousands of hours of deliberate focus. Flow doesn't appear for beginners. It only comes to those who have done the right thing long enough, deep enough. You can't enter flow if you're still chasing everything, if your mind is pulled in 10 different directions. Flow only comes to those who chose a single direction and went all the way. You know, most people never reach flow because they've never given themselves the chance to stay with anything long enough. They change goals every few months, switch projects whenever they feel bored, and then wonder why they never truly burn with passion. But you can't build a fire by constantly changing the wood. You have to stay persist, keep pouring energy into the right place until the flame ignites from within. When you've touched the state of flow, everything becomes light. You don't need to force yourself to wake up early because you're eager to begin. You don't need motivation because the work is already joy. You stop asking, when will I succeed? Because every day you're living in success. That's when, as I often say, focus is no longer something you do, it's who you are. Focus is no longer an action, it's part of your DNA. Your thinking becomes sharper, your mind becomes calm. You no longer need discipline to focus because focus has become a natural reflex. Remember, flow isn't a reward for the talented, but a result for the consistent. You can't buy it and you can't rush it. But if you keep sowing each day with focus one day, you'll realize you've become different to the point you barely recognize yourself. Then the world will start to notice. Opportunities will find you not because you're lucky, but because you've become someone opportunity can't ignore. You no longer chase success, success begins to chase you. And when you reach that point, the point where focus turns into flow, that's when you truly grasp the meaning of this title, Sharpen Your Focus Until You're Unrecognizable. Sharpen your mind, train your focus until the world no longer recognizes your former self. And then you'll smile because at last you've become your very best self. Principle R, legacy of focus. Focus isn't just to achieve, but to leave a mark. There comes a day when your journey has gone far enough that you realize focus isn't just to achieve, it's to leave something behind. When you've learned, trained, and walked through the seasons of discipline, failure, and success, when you've stepped into flow, where doing and living are one, you reach the highest tier of growth legacy. I call it the legacy of focus, the tier where all your focused efforts begin to leave a mark beyond yourself. At this point, results are no longer just numbers or achievement. They live in the impact you create on other people's minds and lives. What you build, whether a business, a philosophy, or a work, begins to live its own life even when you're not there. I once said, the purpose of life is to grow yourself so you can help others grow. When you focus long enough on something meaningful, you don't just become better. You become an inspiration. You create systems, values, and ways of thinking that others can learn from, inherit, and carry forward. That's when your effort transforms into legacy. I remember a young man once asked me, Master, when will I know I've truly succeeded? I smiled and said, when your results keep growing even when you no longer touch them. Because that's the true power of sustained focus. It doesn't end when you stop. It continues to live in other people's minds. Think of Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, or anyone who devoted their lives to one thing. What they left behind isn't just products, but a mindset, a way of living, and the belief that focus can change the world. And so can you. Even if you didn't invent the light bulb or the iPhone, you can leave a legacy through the way you live and work each day. Through integrity when no one's watching. Through your attitude when facing failure. Through your example when you choose persistence over quitting. Focus doesn't just train your skills, it trains your essence. And that essence over time becomes a guiding light for others. I once called it the second light. A light you create that no longer shines only for yourself, but lights the way for those who come after. When you reach this tier, you'll feel a strange peace. No more racing, no more proving, no more comparing. You do it because it's right, because it matters, because it leaves good behind. And that's when success becomes legacy. One day someone will tell your story, how you persevered, how you lived with purpose, how you focused while others were distracted. And they will say, that person didn't just live. They left a mark. That is the ultimate reward of focus, the ability to touch other lives without being present. So when you sharpen your focus each day, don't just think about the results you want to achieve. Think about the mark you want to leave. Because one day the seeds you plant today will bloom into a garden future generations can enjoy. The ultimate measure of success is not how much you gain, but how much you give that keeps on giving. Jim Rohn, and that is the final tier, the legacy of focus. Where focus becomes legacy and your life becomes proof that one person can change the world simply by focusing long enough, deep enough, and sincerely enough. You know this journey isn't for everyone. Because to become unrecognizable, you must dare to leave behind who you used to be. You must learn to be silent when others are loud, to work when others rest, to keep going when no one believes you'll reach the finish. But that is the price of transformation, and it's what makes the outcome sacred. I'm not saying it will be easy. I'm saying it will be worth it. Every day you choose to focus a little more, you move closer to your extraordinary self. One day when you look back, you'll smile and say, I didn't need to change the world, I just needed to change myself. And the world changed with me. If these words touch you today, remember, don't let them stop at emotion. Turn them into action. Start with one small decision, focus on what truly matters. Share in the comments, I will sharpen my focus by, and let others on the journey be inspired by you. A final note from me, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and achievement. Don't just listen, act. And I'll see you in the next video from Jim Rohn Treasures, where we continue the journey of sharpening the mind-building discipline and becoming the best version of ourselves.